I, 21F, need to get this off my chest because I can't sleep and keep questioning if I'm overreacting. I've been dating Ronald, 24M, for about 4 months now, and until yesterday, I thought he was perfect. We met at the coffee shop where I work part-time while finishing my nursing degree. He would come in every morning for his coffee, always leaving big tips and making small talk. After about 2 weeks of this, he finally asked me out. I should give some background about our families because it's relevant to why this hurts so much. I come from a pretty traditional Hispanic family where family always comes first. My parents have been married for 25 years, my dad works in construction while my mom stayed home to raise me and my 3 siblings. They taught us that family sticks together no matter what. Ronald's background is different. His dad left when he was 5, leaving his mom to raise him and his 3 siblings alone. She worked 2 jobs to keep them fed and housed. Ronald often talked about how amazing his mom was for never giving up on them. Things with Ronald were great at first. He was sweet, attentive, and seemed to really care about my future. He got along great with my family. My mom absolutely adores him, and my dad, who's usually super protective, actually likes having him around. My younger sister Sarah wasn't his biggest fan at first, saying something felt off about him, but I thought she was just being overprotective after her ex left her for her best friend last year. The issue started yesterday morning. I had this weird dream where I got pregnant and Ronald just disappeared, leaving me alone and scared. I woke up feeling unsettled but thought it was funny in a weird way. Ronald usually comes over for breakfast before I head to class, so I told him about the dream while making coffee. His reaction completely blindsided me. He got really serious and said, "If you ever got pregnant, I would break up with you immediately. I'm not ready for kids and I won't let anyone trap me into being a father." When I stared at him in shock, he added that getting pregnant would be even worse than if I cheated on him because at least cheating doesn't tie you to someone for 18 years. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. We've been having unprotected sex for the past 2 months because he complained that condoms didn't feel good and promised to pull out. I'm on birth control pills, but I'm not perfect about taking them at the same time every day. When I pointed this out to him, he said that's why he trusted me because I was on birth control and knew he didn't want kids. What really got to me was how he could say this knowing his own history. His mom Maria raised 4 kids alone after their dad walked out. Ronald has told me stories about how they sometimes went to bed hungry because there wasn't enough food, how his mom would pretend she already ate so the kids could have more. He saw firsthand how hard it was growing up without a father, yet here he was casually saying he'd do the same thing to his own child. When I brought this up, his response made me feel sick. He said it was different because his mom chose to keep them even though their dad made it clear he didn't want kids. He said he was being upfront about his boundaries now so I couldn't trap him later. The way he used the word trap really bothered me, as if women just get pregnant to force men into relationships. The conversation got worse from there. He started listing all the reasons why a baby would be a bad idea. I'm still in school, I only make minimum wage, I live with my parents. I agree that I'm not ready for a baby right now, but that wasn't the point. It was his attitude about abandoning his responsibilities that scared me. I called my best friend Lisa after he left. She thinks I should break up with him immediately. She pointed out that someone who can so casually talk about abandoning their child probably shouldn't be trusted with unprotected sex in the first place. My sister Sarah is even more adamant. She said men who think like Ronald are the reason so many women end up struggling as single mothers. But here's why I'm confused. Outside of this issue, Ronald has been amazing. He drives me to my night classes because he worries about me taking the bus late at night. He remembers little details about things I like. He even helped my younger brother with his college applications. When my car broke down last month, he spent his whole Saturday helping my dad fix it. I haven't told my parents about this conversation yet. Mom has been so happy that I finally found a good guy. She's already talking about grandchildren someday. Dad would be furious if he knew Ronald was talking about abandoning potential children. I haven't broken up with him yet because part of me wonders if I'm making too big a deal out of this. Maybe he just panicked and said things he didn't mean? We're supposed to meet tomorrow to talk about it more. He's been texting me saying I'm overreacting and that lots of guys feel the same way, they just don't say it out loud. My cousin Maria, who had a similar situation with her ex, says I need to trust my gut. She said the fact that he's trying to make me feel crazy for being upset is a huge red flag. But then my other friend Ashley said all guys freak out about pregnancy and I should just be more careful with my birth control if I want to stay with him. I keep going back and forth between being angry at his attitude and wondering if I'm overreacting to a hypothetical situation. What if I end a good relationship over something that might never happen? But then I think, what if it did happen? Could I live with myself knowing I ignored such a huge warning sign? So Reddit, am I overreacting? Should I end an otherwise good relationship over his stance on a hypothetical situation? Or is this the kind of red flag I'll regret ignoring later? Any advice would be appreciated because I honestly don't know what to do anymore. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone for their advice on my last post. The past 2 weeks have been a complete roller coaster, and I needed time to process everything before updating. The day after my post, I met Ronald at our usual coffee shop to talk things through. At first, he seemed apologetic, saying he should have been more sensitive about the whole pregnancy thing. But when I pressed him about his views on abandoning a potential child, he doubled down. He went on this whole rant about how men should have reproductive rights too and how it's not fair that women get to trap men with babies. While he was in the middle of explaining his rights, his phone kept buzzing with notifications. He was getting really anxious, checking it and quickly putting it face down. Then a text came through that I partially saw, something about need to talk from someone named Amy. When I asked who Amy was, he got super defensive, saying she was just a co-worker who was bugging him about a project. Something about his reaction felt off. I've never seen him that nervous before. He quickly changed the subject and started talking about our weekend plans, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Later that night, while I was still processing our conversation, I got a Facebook message from Amy. Turns out she's not just Ronald's co-worker, she's his ex-girlfriend from 6 months ago. And here's the bombshell, she has a 3-month-old baby. She sent me pictures of her with Ronald from when they were dating, and ultrasound photos with dates that matched up to when they were together. According to Amy, when she told Ronald she was pregnant, he immediately accused her of cheating and trying to trap him. He blocked her on everything, phone, social media, email, everything. She said he even switched his gym membership to avoid running into her. She's been trying to get him to take a paternity test, but he keeps dodging her attempts to contact him. I was in shock. I couldn't sleep that night, just staring at the pictures she sent. The baby has Ronald's nose and chin. I called my sister Sarah at 2 a.m., crying. She came over immediately, and we spent the rest of the night going through Amy's messages and social media, finding more evidence that Ronald had been lying about a lot of things. The next morning, I confronted Ronald at his apartment. His reaction told me everything I needed to know. Instead of denying it, he exploded in anger about Amy contacting me. He called her crazy and obsessed, said she was making up lies to ruin his life. But then he slipped up. He mentioned that she had complications during her second trimester. How would he know that if he blocked her as soon as she told him about the pregnancy? When I pointed this out, he started backtracking, saying he'd heard it from mutual friends. But by then, I'd already texted Amy asking to meet in person. We met at a Starbucks that afternoon. She brought screenshots of all their conversations, and they were eerily similar to my situation. He told her the same things about condoms not feeling good and promising to pull out. There were messages where he explicitly said pregnancy would be worse than cheating, almost word for word what he told me. But it gets worse. Later that day, my mom called me over. She had something to confess. Apparently, Ronald's mom Maria had reached out to her a month ago with concerns about Ronald. She'd overheard him at a family barbecue, bragging to his cousins about how he gets girls to have unprotected sex by promising to pull out, knowing he won't have to deal with any consequences. Mom said she'd been struggling with whether to tell me, not wanting to ruin what seemed like a good relationship. I went to Ronald's apartment the next day with Lisa and Sarah to get my things. He wasn't home, but his roommate Mark was there, pretty drunk. While we were packing my stuff, Mark started talking. He mentioned that Ronald had been seeing some girl from his gym for the past month. Apparently, Ronald had been using the same lines on her about pulling out and not needing condoms. Amy and I have been talking a lot over the past week. She's gotten a lawyer involved for the paternity test. Ronald's mom Maria is actually supporting her. She says she's tired of covering for her son's behavior and watching him repeat his father's mistakes. She's offered to testify about things she's overheard if it comes to that. Ronald's been telling everyone that Amy and I are lying, that we're just jealous exes trying to ruin his life. But more women are starting to come forward with similar stories. His cousin's friend had a similar experience with him last year. It's like once one person spoke up, others felt brave enough to share their stories too. I'm angry at myself for not seeing the red flag sooner, for ignoring my sister's initial gut feeling about him. But I'm more angry at Ronald for potentially doing this to other girls. How many other women has he manipulated this way? How many others might be out there? My period was late for a few days last week and I had a complete breakdown. Thankfully it came, but those few days of panic really drove home how close I came to being in Amy's situation. I've made an appointment to get tested for STDs since I obviously can't trust anything Ronald told me about being clean. I'll update again when we know more about the paternity test situation. Amy's lawyer seems confident they can force him to take it. For now, I'm just trying to process everything and be there for Amy. It's strange how this horrible situation led me to find a friend in someone I might have seen as competition under different circumstances. Update 2: the results of the paternity test came back yesterday, and no surprise, Ronald is definitely the father of Amy's baby. But that's not even close to being the biggest development in this mess. Remember how Ronald's roommate Mark mentioned a girl from the gym? Well, her name is Kate, and she found out she's pregnant 2 weeks ago. Ronald tried his usual routine, blocking her number, denying responsibility, telling everyone she was crazy. But this time it backfired spectacularly. Turns out Kate is good friends with Ronald's cousin Emma, who had heard about the situation with Amy. Kate reached out to Amy through Emma, and they compared stories. Same lines about pulling out, same promises about taking responsibility if anything happened, same immediate blocking when pregnancy was mentioned. Kate even had text messages where Ronald told her getting pregnant would be worse than cheating, his apparent favorite line. Ronald's mom Maria finally reached her breaking point. She called a family meeting at their house, inviting Amy and Kate. Then she laid everything out in front of the whole family. Apparently, Ronald has done this to at least 4 other girls in the past 2 years. 2 of them had abortions because they couldn't handle being single mothers, 1 had a miscarriage after Ronald stressed her out so badly, and 1 moved to another state to live with her sister. The real kicker? Maria had been giving Ronald money to help with rent, but he was using it to pay off girls to keep quiet. She found his Venmo history showing payments to different girls with baby emojis in the notes. When she confronted him about it, he laughed it off as a joke. Both Kate and Amy have filed for child support. Ronald got served with papers at work, which apparently caused a huge scene. He's trying to fight it, claiming he's not responsible because they trapped him. His lawyer apparently quit after Ronald suggested trying to prove both girls were sleeping with other people around the same time. Last week, my pregnancy test scare turned out to be nothing, but it made me realize how easily I could have been in their situation. I've been helping Amy and Kate navigate the legal system. Ronald's mom is actually paying for their lawyer. She says it's the least she can do after enabling Ronald's behavior for so long. Ronald's been on a rampage, telling anyone who will listen that we're all lying to ruin his life. He even showed up at my parents' house, claiming I was just jealous because he broke up with me. Funny how he remembers it that way. My dad literally chased him off our property. The most shocking part? We found out Ronald has a spreadsheet where he tracked different girls' cycles and when they were most likely to get pregnant. His roommate Mark found it on their shared computer and sent it to Maria. Ronald tried to claim it was for avoiding pregnancy, but the notes section had comments like probably safe and risky but worth it. His family is torn apart over this. His siblings are disgusted, his mom is heartbroken, and his grandparents have written him out of their will. The only one defending him is his uncle, who apparently did something similar in his youth. The women's clinic where Amy had her prenatal care has asked us to speak to their support group for single mothers. They said they see situations like this all the time but rarely does anyone speak up about it. Kate's already agreed to share her story. I'm thinking about it, maybe our experience can help other women avoid guys like Ronald. We also found out that Ronald's dad didn't exactly leave when they were kids. Maria finally told us that she kicked him out after finding out he had multiple other children with different women. Looks like the apple didn't fall far from the tree. Ronald's trying to transfer to his company's branch in another state to avoid the child support payments, but his mom tipped off Amy's lawyer. They're filing papers to prevent him from leaving the state until the support agreements are finalized. I'm still processing everything, but helping Amy and Kate has given me purpose. We've started a support group chat for all the women Ronald has hurt. It's horrifying how many stories are similar to mine, but it's also empowering to know we're not alone. I'll update again when there's more news about the child support situation. For now, I'm just grateful I found out who Ronald really was before I became another name in his spreadsheet. Final update: I think this will be my final update on the Ronald situation. A lot has happened in the past 3 months, and I feel like I'm finally ready to close this chapter of my life. The court ordered Ronald to pay child support to both Amy and Kate. They garnished his wages after he forgot to make payments for 2 months. He tried to quit his job to avoid paying, but the judge saw right through that and threatened him with jail time. He's now required to notify the court if he changes jobs, and his new employer will be automatically informed about the wage garnishment. Ronald's mom Maria helped Amy and Kate find a good lawyer who specializes in cases like these. Turns out Ronald had been hiding money in a separate account, trying to look broke on paper. The lawyer found it and now he has to pay back support for all the months he avoided them. I ran into Ronald at my cousin's wedding last week. He'd clearly been drinking and tried to corner me by the bathroom. He gave me this whole speech about how he's changed and learned his lesson, said I was different from the others, and that we could try again because he really loved me. When I laughed in his face, he got angry and started saying I ruined his life by telling Amy about Kate. Security had to escort him out. The support group we started has grown. We're up to 15 women now who've had similar experiences with Ronald over the past 3 years. 3 more pregnancies we didn't know about, multiple STD scares, and countless stories of emotional manipulation. We've been working with a local women's organization to warn others about guys like Ronald and help women in similar situations. Maria joins our meetings sometimes. She's been incredible through all of this, helping with legal fees, sharing information, and supporting all the women Ronald hurt. She says helping us is her way of making amends for enabling his behavior for so long. She's also started counseling sessions with Amy and Kate to be a better grandmother to their children. Ronald's latest attempt to avoid responsibility? He tried to convince his new girlfriend, yes, somehow he found another victim, to say they were dating during the time Amy and Kate got pregnant. She actually came to one of our support group meetings to tell us about his plan. We put her in touch with Maria and she broke up with him the next day. The spreadsheet incident went viral in our local community after Mark posted about it on Facebook. Ronald can barely show his face at local bars anymore. He tried to play the victim, claiming it was just a joke that got misunderstood, but nobody's buying it anymore. I'm focusing on finishing my nursing degree now and being way more careful about who I trust. The whole experience taught me to trust my gut and not ignore red flags just because someone seems perfect on the surface. Amy and Kate's babies are both doing well. It's weird to think that these kids are half-siblings and will probably grow up together. Maria makes sure Ronald's child support payments stay up to date, and she's determined to be there for her grandchildren even if their father won't be. This will probably be my last update unless something major happens. Thanks for all the support, Reddit. If there's one thing I've learned from this whole mess, it's that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. T.S. To the 3 women who messaged me saying they're in similar situations with their boyfriends, get out now. It doesn't get better, and you deserve more than empty promises and manipulation.